chart by Global Nutrition Report, it talks about the malnutrition rates of children ages 5 and younger in the United States. Looking directly at the orange line, we can see that less than 4% of children ages 5 and younger are showing stunting due to the fact that they are receiving proper nourishment. Unlike this graph, also by the Global Nutrition Report, shows that in South Africa, around 25% of children ages 5 and younger are showing stunting due to the fact that they are not receiving proper nutritional meals to grow up the rate they should be for their age. This is a significant difference between the US and South Africa.
Good afternoon, my name is Ashley Hong.
My name is Isabella Luciana.
My name is Shanae Mukarji.
My name is Duncan Salva.
And my name is Jessica Cantrell. How will botanical diets contribute to enhancing the physical health of residents in Southern Africa? Some of the key problems we'll be presenting today is chronic illness, nutrition deficiency, and finally, sustainability. Obesity is one of the most leading causes to using botanical diets. Some of the ways that it is able to help people is that they are eating and fueling themselves with ingredients that is protein to their bodies. Some of the ways
In the article Indigenous South African Food, Nutrition and Health Benefits by Antonio Augusta, he states that there is a wide variety of locally grown plants in South Africa that can be used to prevent chronic illness. One main example of this is the Greurea flava plant species. In a peer-reviewed academic journal, Suno Kumar states that parts of this plant can be used in a decoction like juice, paste, or powder, which can then cure liver, blood, and heart disorders. Adding on to this, Bongani Donikash Tisabala states in antimicrobial root and leaf extractions that the leaves of this plant can be used to make a digestive juice which can then be drank to cure constipation, skin care, and toothache problems in children, as well as any sterility complications in women. Here in this picture by ResearchGate, looking directly to the right-hand side, we can see one of the main limitations, which is where the environment is it's very difficult for the environment to be under the right conditions for this plant to grow. Two of the main damaging factors are fire and drought, and two of the most crucial factors are an adequate amount of rainfall and a moderate climate.
As Isabella mentioned, botanical crops indigenous crops help Southern African residents by providing them with healing properties. However, for this to happen, the environment must be strong enough to sustain these crops. This is a chart of the 6 main planetary boundaries of the Earth. The red ring represents the 100% threshold, which in the land system change category, the green section, this is being exceeded at about 200%. Moreover, in the gray section, which is biosphere integrity, this is being exceeded at about 300%, according to Nature, an academic journal. This is all as a result of meat consumption. Botanical diets can solve this issue. According to the Indian Journal of Health and Well-Being, it states that it is less efficient for humans to produce crops to feed livestock and then eat the livestock than for humans to produce crops for direct consumption. In this way, botanical diets can solve for the unsustainability of current Southern African diets, which is hindering their health. This is a map of central western Namibia. Located here near Windhoek is a region by the name of Comus Hookland. According to Bothalia, a South African peer-reviewed journal, here there is at least an 80% cover by granite gravel. The significance of granite gravel is that it supports root health, regulates temperature, and increases the amount of available nutrients, which improves the amount of vegetation that the land is able to produce. This proves that this is an example of how the biome in Southern Africa is strong enough to support botanical diets. Additionally, the Global Environmental Change, an international journal, states that less water is required and more biodiversity is preserved when people adopt botanical diets. This means that it is more sustainable for the earth, and therefore it is more sustainable for Southern Africans to adopt botanical diets.
Food affordability is
essential when adopting plant-based diets. According to UN.org, the official website of the United Nations, they state that there is an arising problem of nutrition deficiency and more. This graph was made using information from an article written by Daniel Francisco Paez, a researcher in the Department of Finance at the University of Beira Interior. His information shows that omnivorous diets cost around 78 euros per week, and botanical diets cost around 47 euros per week. This will help people of Southern Africa because due to the expensive food and of omnivorous diets, botanical diets can be a substitute and help them afford the food. Runoff pollution. Runoff pollution is when agriculture or livestock pollution enters into water and it creates an unsafe environment for people. This world map from the World Health Organization shows that there's 500 to 1,050 deaths in dark blue areas per million people. So in this area, in the southern African region, there's a large amount of deaths occurring there due to water sanitation. This is usually from animal waste. According to Mary Kina, a researcher at the University of Nebraska, she says that animal waste from warm-blooded animals can create pathogenic viruses such as E. coli, which enter waterways and can create these unsafe environments for people. Although there is a limitation, agriculture also results in pollution, but the effects of agriculture are not as bad compared to animal waste because there isn't a high increase in pathogenic viruses.
According to the African Journal of Food, dietary modification is one of the most viable ways in combating malnutrition. It increases the amount of nutritional intake, which can be achieved by incorporating more vegetables into the diet. The World Health Organization recommends a vegetable intake of 400 grams per capita per day. Here you can see information from the South African Social Attitude Survey displays the frequency of fruit and vegetable consumption over a span of 24 hours. Here it shows the consumption frequency, and here it shows the percentage of Southern African households that consume this diet. Here in the gray it shows the fruit and vegetables as the bar. You can see here that only around 8% of South African households consume fruit and vegetables 5 times per day, indicating that it's lower than recommended levels. According to the African Journal of Food, a plant species called indigenous vegetables are defined as leafy greens that have been cultivated in Africa over centuries and are crucial in improving the nutritional intake of Southern African residents due to its nutrient-dense attributes, which I will explain further in the next slide. Protein diets are also a great way in combating malnutrition. According to plant-based diets and long-term health, vegans and vegetarians, when they adapt botanical diets, start undertaking a much larger quantity of protein-rich foods. According to the National Academic Press, indigenous vegetables contribute to 12% of the total dietary protein intake in Southern Africa. In this chart from Kenya, it displays how in rural areas, which is the bar on the right, there's a much higher protein intake compared to peri-urban areas. In rural areas, you can see here that here are the indigenous vegetables listed below, and they consume a lot more, leading to the higher protein intake. Because it's more accessible to them, it's more common in their diets, therefore showing the significant role that indigenous vegetables play in Southern African residents consuming enough nutrients, therefore leading to the better health of Southern African residents.
Finally is the high meat demand limitation. In Southern Africa, there is a high meat demand, and this can be shown, for example, products imported into South Africa. This row shows the products imported into South Africa. It shows that 62.5% of mince is imported, and this product that gets imported it goes completely against our claim because it shows that there's a high meat demand. Yep, thank you.
right, scoot together if you would for me. Shannon, we're going to start with you and work our way across. So Shannon, how did your group decide how to include Jess's paper into your overall presentation?
Our group decided to include Jesse's research on chronic illnesses into establishing the fact that there is our first problem, which is that there's chronic illness in Southern Africa, which then we were able to prove that botanical crops solve this issue through Isabella's claim on how crops can heal chronic illness in Southern Africa.
Thank you, ma'am. Jessica, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on you understanding the problem?
I feel that Ashley's work really made an impact on how I understand my problem because even though we didn't use it into our presentation, her RRR did explain how culture and religion is a very big in plant-based diets. It's very big in Southern Africa, and I felt that made a very big mark onto our presentation, even though it wasn't there.
All right, thank you. Ash, what's a way in which your team's resolution makes you think differently about the research you conducted?
So I looked at culture, and specifically in modern cultures, plant-based diets are utilized by a lot of women to lose weight because of body standards. And so I saw this as a more negative diet, but after looking at all the benefits from sustainability all the way to nutritional intake, I saw it more as a positive diet.
All right. Mr. Charlotte, sir, what is an example of an argument you guys didn't use, and then why didn't you use it?
And an argument that we didn't use was the social aspect of it. The socially it's less current, so like people are less likely to like. Can you repeat the question for me? Sorry about that.
Sure, you're fine. What is an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers' IRRs that you decided to exclude from your presentation, and why?
We excluded Ashley's. We excluded Ashley's part where she talks about the culture of different diets. We didn't include this because we saw that there was more importance in other areas such as like sustainability, like the prices, and Shanam's presentation, like Shanam's part on the area where plants were grown in Africa. So that was why. Yeah.
Okay. Let's save the best for last. If you had yet another member of this team, so 6 members of this team, what could they bring that would help you, Alex, with this presentation?
If we had another member of this team, we could do more research on how botanical diets can affect the mental health of South African residents. Since in South Africa, we know that there's a high meat demand, most residents are known to eat meats. So being in public or social settings and being the one or only 2 people consuming plant-based diets can make someone feel excluded, and that could have an impact on their mental health.